If you've watched my first video, I believe that the first thing you need to understand about the law of assumption is who you are, which is God or source. If this is too far of a reach for you, or if it makes you uncomfortable in any way, that's okay. But please try to consider the possibility that God is actually working through you, that it is the life force that's quite literally keeping you alive right now as you listen to my words. My favorite Neville Goddard book is Your Faith is Your Fortune, because that's the book where Neville very clearly states what I've just said. Before man can transform his world, he must first lay this foundation or understanding. I am the Lord. Man must know that his awareness of being is God. Until this is firmly established, so that no suggestion or argument of others can shake him, he will find himself returning to the slavery of his former belief. If ye believe not that I am he, ye shall die in your sins. Unless man discovers that his consciousness is the cause of every expression of his life, he will continue seeking the cause of his confusion in the world of effects, and so shall die in his fruitless search. I am the vine, and ye are the branches. Consciousness is the vine, and that which you are conscious of being is as branches that you feed and keep alive. Just as a branch has no life except it be rooted in the vine, likewise, things have no life except you be conscious of them. Just as a branch withers and dies if the sap of the vine ceases to flow towards it, so do things and qualities pass away if you take your attention from them, because your attention is the sap of life, which sustains the expression of life. That passage is from chapter 3, The Principle of Truth, in Your Faith is Your Fortune. So let's break down what Neville said as it relates to what I continue going back to, which is knowing your consciousness, your awareness of being as God. Each of us takes the name of God in vain every time we express ourselves as I am, then follow it up with whatever condition we choose. Reverend Ike always said not to take God's name in vain, yet we've all done it. How many times have we begun an I am statement and followed it with something negative about ourselves, such as unloved or unlovable, poor or unhealthy, stressed or not good enough? But according to the above passage, one must first become conscious or aware of being the person who has whatever is desired, no matter what that is. So you are starving the unfavorable, what you don't want to experience anymore, and you are moving your conscious awareness to what you do want to experience. It all takes place in mind. Everything begins in mind first, as within, so without. So start by asking yourself, what would my life be like now if I already were this person I want to be? If I had the relationship, the money, the home, the car, the career, the health, everything that I want, what does my life look like? Because as you start to contemplate the things that you desire, you are directing your consciousness, the God within you, to start paying attention to those desires. You're giving your I am the directive, the suggestion. Hey, pay attention because this is important. And since I am is impersonal, it will begin to call forward more images that are in that same manner. And you're going to start to see those images being expressed in your reality. It's very, very easy to dismiss this kind of exercise of simple contemplation as fantasy or something trivial that is only being experienced in your imagination, or it's a daydream, an untouched reality. Because how many times have we imagined something favorable, something that we wanted, but then we turn around and just as easily and almost seamlessly, we talk ourselves out of it by telling ourselves, well, that would never or could never happen. But don't you see how that's not true? That is also an assumption. So what I'm saying is, why not start assuming that things are working out for you? That no matter what you're experiencing that you don't like currently in your 3D, what if you start telling yourself, somehow this is all leading to a favorable outcome for me. Somehow things are turning around for me, even if I can't see them, even if I don't understand this or like this right now. Things are about to turn around for me. I don't know how or when, but things are going to turn around for me, because reality, your 3D, has no choice ever but to prove you right. It is going to prove you right every single time. So why not start telling yourself that new story? Because the only consciousness, the only person that you are trying to convince is you, yourself. You don't have to convince your specific person. You don't have to convince your best friend, your parent, your sibling. You don't have to convince anybody. What is it that you want? Can you accept that? Can you accept that within first? Because once you've accepted it within, reality has no choice but to bring it to you. The thing is that we've been conditioned, we've been brought up to believe that the opposite is true, that only bad things happen. And I'm saying, screw that entirely. I keep saying that over and over again because I want you to start playing with this law. I want you to start testing it, because I've tested it and my life is it's completely different to how it was when I first began. So what if you just, for shits and giggles, started assuming that, you're imagining yourself that you feel good. You feel good. What's going to happen? Well, you're going to start getting thoughts that are following that train of thought, good thoughts, favorable thoughts. So in essence, what you're doing with your mind is you're tapping into those other potential realities where those outcomes to the circumstance you're presently trying to get out of, those are already a real thing for that version of you. That version of you has already made it through this fire that you're going through right now. And I mean fire in the negative way, in the hellish way, not in, oh, that's so cool, it's fire. But when you start to entertain better thoughts, notice how that feels within your body. You automatically start to feel better. And if you're in a really difficult, hard situation, you might even begin to sense that there's a spark of hope there. And that's what you want to put your awareness on. You want to start pursuing that feeling. Remember, in the example that I gave you about Neville talking about your awareness, your consciousness is the sap that is going towards that vine. If that's the vine that you want to grow, that's where you need to direct your consciousness. I have been working for quite some time now with someone who saw himself as a failure, despite his 3D showing him plenty of evidence to the contrary, that, he was a success and he was also loved, appreciated, and valued. But eventually what happened was that with him marinating and continuing to marinate dominantly in that story of himself as a failure, his 3D had no choice but to prove his thinking about himself was correct. So he was laid off, his partner ended things, and he spiraled into more anxious and depressive thoughts. But luckily, he's already begun to see that there is a correlation between his self-concept and these false assumptions and how those played a role in his world. And one of the things that he asked me about was, how does he control his thoughts and stop fearing them? Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what I told him, and I want everyone to know this. And it's that your thoughts, unless you are marinating on them, i.e., giving them more fuel, more sap, just like that vine I talked about earlier when I read Neville's the excerpt from your faith is your fortune, Neville's words. By continuing to marinate, to ruminate on any thought, that is what's giving them life. The thoughts themselves have zero power. And we, even, as consciousness, as source or whatever, you don't have any control over the thoughts that come into your mind, because bad thoughts, good thoughts, mediocre thoughts, excellent thoughts, it doesn't matter. You don't have any control of that. All of those thoughts are a part of the absolute. You cannot strip anything from the absolute, because otherwise it would not be the absolute. So that's not possible. But what you do have control over is which thoughts are you choosing to marinate on? Which ones are you giving life to? Where is it that you're sending that sap? That life-giving sap? Are you sending it to the negative thoughts that do not serve you, or to the positive thoughts that are more in line with where you want to be in life, with whatever it is that you're desiring? See, we've been taught to focus solely on the bad and on what we don't want to experience more of, and we unfortunately have been taught to constantly, if it's not bad news, if it's not drama, then it's not worth our attention or whatever. And that's the opposite. You are relearning how to think when you start to put these things into practice. When you start to test the law and work with the law, you are unlearning a lifetime of how you were brought up to believe that reality works, because it's not true. That was also an assumption. So you do have the ability to decide consciously which thoughts you're going to entertain. So why not entertain the ones where you have all of your desires, you have everything you want? Because reality has no choice but to come back and show you more proof of that. Your desires, another word on those, is that they are already in existence. If you can think about it, if you can want it, then that means that there is already another version of you that has already achieved that desire, that is already living with that desire or as that desire. Say that, you're manifesting yourself to be a successful entrepreneur, for example. That version of you already exists, but now you are, let's say, unemployed, or you are working a job that you hate and you're not making enough money. So your logical human self cannot see how you could ever make that jump, that leap. Well, the good news is that the human you doesn't have to figure that out. That is for your higher self, the God within you, to figure out and to lead you there. But what you are responsible for is for putting your consciousness more on that reality. What does that you look like? Does it look like you right now? Okay, good. Do you have a new haircut? Okay, go there. It doesn't matter. That is up to the individual. But then start to consider what that reality feels like. Let's say, you're manifesting a specific person. I know that's a very popular hot topic. And okay, so do you live with this person? Or do you not live with this person? And if you don't live with them, that's okay. What is the relationship like? Are you in constant communication? Do you send each other flirty texts, or do you FaceTime regularly? Do you maybe, not talk every single day because you're both busy, but you do keep in touch regularly as often as possible? Do you go on date nights? How often do you go on date nights? What are your date nights like? Are you romantic? Are you very into public displays of affection or not? Are you into, being intimate, or are you more about being out and about and being social or enjoying things together? Maybe you're into outdoor adventuring, traveling, activities, that sort of thing. So maybe you are hiking, maybe you are taking a cruise together. Maybe it's just as simple as you're at the movies on a, Friday afternoon, for example. Those are all the things that you want to start contemplating and putting your awareness on, because things will move and shift around to bring you those experiences. That's how this works. So even if your human eyes cannot yet perceive that reality as a certainty, even if you don't see it, it does exist. It does exist, because it exists in the infinite, the limitless potential. It exists. What you're doing is you are observing it. And by observing it, I'll touch on this later, you are solidifying that. You're collapsing it so that it solidifies into matter. I know that this sounds crazy. I know that it does. And when I first heard it, I was like, this is bullshit. There's no way. But science has already been backing this up. What I was talking about just a little bit ago, it's actually the double slit experiment. You can find that anywhere here on YouTube. Just look it up, double slit experiment. And there are plenty of videos that show how everything exists as a wave. The wave is a potential. Everything is a wave. The wave collapses into a particle or matter or your 3D when it is observed. Who's the observer? We are. Consciousness is the observer. The more and more you observe something, even if it's only an imagination, you don't have any evidence. You don't need any evidence in 3D. The more it's going to begin to take shape so that it can harden into fact. That's another Neville quote. Any assumption, though false, if persisted in, i.e., if continuing to think about it, marinate on it, will harden into fact. Why is that exactly? Because you're God, because of who you are, because you're source, because God is working through you. If the other statements are too much for you to accept right now, you will. The more and more that you consciously are working with the law, the more and more you're going to come to this realization. It's so easy to dismiss this, you guys, but I promise that the more you start paying attention to this, the easier it's going to become for you. And pretty soon, you're going to be consciously manifesting to your benefit on autopilot. Because when you think about it, you've already been manifesting on autopilot your whole entire life. You just weren't consciously aware of it. You weren't directing it, knowing that you had the control. Go back in your life and think about a moment when you felt really, really happy with an outcome. So be honest with yourself. Did your state, your thoughts, your feelings, beliefs, emotions, what you were feeling at the time, did that sync up with the outcome? I can almost guarantee that if you're completely honest with yourself, the answer is yes. And now do the same with an unhappy outcome. And the answer again is yes. What were you feeling, thinking, believing about yourself at the time? Did it line up with the outcome? I guarantee the answer is yes. So it can be a hard pill to swallow, especially when it's an outcome you didn't like or that you even wanted consciously, but you can now start to see how your belief in what you experience, it's almost like you knew it. It's almost like you were psychic, like I knew that this was going to happen to me. I shouldn't have been so XYZ, fill in the blank. All that 3D is doing is proving you right as source, as consciousness, as God of your reality, as the God in you working through you for you. That's all that 3D is doing. That's all. So I'm not going to point a finger at anybody. I'm not going to make you feel guilty or ashamed for what you unknowingly created, because we've all done it. All of us. I don't care who it is. But now that you know, now that you're aware, now that you're awake to this, what are you going to do about it? Because we can change any outcome we don't like. And I would strongly suggest that you start doing so immediately, especially if there is a circumstance, a particular one in your life that you believe could have been the one thing that set you on this path that you don't want to be on any longer. I would suggest that you start telling yourself a different story. And the only one who can do this is you. No coach is able to manifest for you or give you a secret sauce technique to manifestation. There is no secret sauce technique. You are it. You are the all. So getting your desires, that is your sole responsibility. I believe that we're here to wake up, and the sooner that we do so, and the sooner we step into knowing and accepting who we are, the faster we will get our desires. Another thing, don't fear your thoughts. You don't have to fear them. The best way to handle a thought that you don't like, that you don't want, that you don't prefer, is to label it as that's only one option. Your mind will show you all options. And I've often found that your mind also shows you the options based on the state you're currently occupying. So if you're in a negative state, your mind is going to show you more unfavorable thoughts to keep you there. But when you decide to consciously shift your state, and you do so by relaxing your body, you can take deep breaths, you can tell yourself to relax until your body starts to feel looser, your muscles aren't as tight, okay? You're going to begin to get better thoughts as your mind relaxes. Your mind is going to go with whatever state you're occupying. Notice how in Neville's lectures, he would sometimes tell his audience to imagine the feel of a rose, for example, the silkiness of the petals. Can you feel that? Can you smell what a rose smells like? What are other things that have a distinct smell or tactile feeling? A golf ball was another one. The firmness, the bumpiness of the texture on the surface of the golf ball, etc. What about if I tell you to think of, a lemon wedge, put that in your mouth? Your salivary glands will have automatically created more saliva, and yet, do you have a lemon wedge in your mouth right now? I don't, and my mouth got wetter. That's what I'm saying. Your mind is that powerful, and the mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what is imagined. Your physiology, your body is going to have the same reaction, whether it's true or not. See what I'm saying? So that's why it's so easy to spiral when you're feeling like shit. And when you're feeling wonderful, it's very easy to smile. There's a lightness to your step. There's a general feeling of contentment. All of that feels very easy, right? That's why. That's why you are in control. Make sure that you're constantly aware of that, even if it's just reciting to yourself, I'm in control, I'm in control, I am in control of how you feel. You are absolutely 100% in control. Thoughts don't have any power. You are more powerful than any thought because you are the consciousness behind the thought. That's why you're so powerful. You've just forgotten, but I'm here to help remind you. Thanks so much for joining me today.